Hi everyone and welcome back to Chess for Charity. In this video, I'm going to show you a cool puzzle that was shared to me through Discord. So take a look at this position. It is white to move. The pawns are going up the board, and of course black's pawns are going down the board. Look at the imbalance here. Black is up quite a bit of material, but there is a win for white. So it's white to move and win. So the challenge here is to see if you can calculate as deeply as possible. You might see the first move, you might even see the second and third move, but can you find the entire sequence? I challenge you to just pause the video, see if you can figure it out. If you're going to let the video ride, let me just quickly tell you to subscribe if you can. I really appreciate all the support that I've gotten so far. Half the income goes to charity, so it helps out a lot. Okay, let's get right to it. So a couple things that might cross your mind, I'll just share what crossed my mind. So of course I noticed this tension on a7. There's a lot of intersection between the queen, the rook, maybe some of these knights if I can get them to hop in. That's kind of the first thing that catches my eye. So immediately I recognize that I could play knight takes bishop, and if the pawn takes, I can win. Great. And if the knight takes, well, I don't have a win anymore. I'm one piece too short. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is I looked at this line, check, and then this kind of thing where you sack the piece, but there's no, you need a rook here or something so that you can do this kind of mate at the end. Unfortunately, in my calculation, as I'm saying, I didn't see a conclusive result because I don't have another rook here. Okay, so that doesn't work. So I had to immediately rule this knight takes bishop out. Okay, and the same thing goes for this knight move. I was looking at this with the idea of if the king moves, then I have something. Then I can play queen takes a7, and I can move, and this is double checkmate, because this is covered, this is covered. But unfortunately, if I play this move, they just take with the bishop. They don't have to take with, or they don't have to move the king. Okay, so that leads me to thinking about the move order. So as a general tip for you, if you're looking at a puzzle and you kind of feel like you have the idea down, so it's clearly something's happening on a7, and I'm trying to get to that by looking at this knight, then maybe looking at this knight, then it comes to the kind of the point where you say, what if I flip the order around? What if I instead start with queen takes a7? Right, that's a crazy move. Well, let's see how far you can calculate out without moving any pieces. So queen takes a7, the king has to take. King takes. Now what do? Well, presumably you move this knight. And I would imagine you're trying to check the king on c6, the king from c6 with the knight. So you play queen takes a7, king takes a7, knight c6 check. Now the king right now is on a7. It cannot go back to b8 because your knight is on c6. This is Hikaru level arrows right here. And it can't go anywhere on the a file because of this rook on a3. Therefore, the king that's on a7 is forced to go to b6. Let's see a couple of these moves on the board if you can't follow that quite yet. Queen takes. King has to take. Knight double check, like this. I can draw an arrow. Like I said, they can't go back because this knight is covering. So, and you can't go here or here, which means you only have one place. Okay. From this position, let me put the move on the board. Can you see the next few moves? So when you play that queen sacrifice, you better know the end result of this game because you can't just give up your queen unless you've calculated that thing to the end. And this is kind of the part of the puzzle that's really fun. So you want to keep the checks going, and there's only one move that does that. Right, okay, two moves. You could, okay, three moves. You could check here, you could check here, and you could check here. So let's just look at that really fast. Obviously, if you check here, that doesn't make any sense. You could just take that with the king, take it with the pawn, it doesn't matter. This one maybe deserves a bit more attention, but unfortunately, the king can run to either the a file or to c5, and there's nothing really good here. This pawn is under attack. So if you want to check me, I just take this pawn. So what do, right? Just to show that. There's no mate here. You want to keep the checks alive? Well, if you check here, you're dropping this knight. If you check here, you're also dropping this knight. If you move this knight, you're going to get hit with something. Okay. So this check doesn't work and this check doesn't work. Okay, the knight check. So let's see if we can figure it out. Can you find the entire ending of this? Knight d7. Now where can the king go? Use your calculation skills. Try to see if you can visualize this. Okay, the king cannot go here, here, here. Can't go to the A file. Can it go to c5? No. The knight is on d7 and that's blocking off c5. Can it go to b5? Yes. That's the only place it can go. So try to imagine knight on d7 and a king on b5. Now, what is the best move? Well, you really don't want to check on the b3 square because of what I mentioned a moment ago, the king being able to run toward this d pawn. So instead, you want us to try to find a check that's a little bit more resourceful to cover this pawn. And that check, the only check, would be the rook moving to a5. Okay, can you follow that? If not, let's put it on the board. Knight d7 check. As I mentioned, it can't go any of these places. Has to go to b5. Okay. Now, if you check here, like I said, just come closer, and it seems like that's a problem. Of course, if they go here, that's just going to be mate. Knight c5 is mate. Rook b4 is also mate. But they don't make that move. Instead, they run away. And now this is being attacked. This is being attacked. There's nothing good here. So the check is the rook to a5 check. Bang. Okay, where can the king go? See if you can visualize this. Let me know if you, like, at what point you're able to solve this thing fully out. I'm curious. So we're already with 4 moves in. Can you see the end? Can you calculate to the end of this puzzle? Okay. The king, where can it go? Okay, can't go here, can't go here, can't go here, can't go here. It can't go here because the knight. Can it go here? Yes. Can it go here? No. And of course it cannot take the knight because the knight is protected by the pawn. Which means after the rook checks the king has 1 square. Great. Now in this position, it's still not trivial. What is the win here? Well, you want to keep the checks alive, and I have 2 different opportunities to do that. I have a knight on c6 that can give check, and a knight on d7 that can give check. Well, which one should I even look at? Or maybe neither. Do I look at something like rook c5? Right, that's an idea. Or do I deflect with something like b3? All these thoughts have to kind of emerge in your candidate move process. So this is the beauty of calculation. You kind of realize that the king, if it had a move, it would start running. It would start going to d3 and just start booking it. Well, if I play rook to c5, that's not actually going to help anything. It's going to start running. And sure, I'll get a fork, but I'm down too much material. So what is the idea? Is there a way I can preemptively stop this d3 escape square? Of course, the answer is yes. One of these knights can hop in and protect that square. Whether it's that knight, I'll just use green again, or, okay, this knight. So which is it? Well, let's think about it. If I play knight on c to e5, what's the difference? Well, what does it give up? This knight was protecting b4, which means now the king can run back to d4. And this is not really a good thing for white. This is being attacked. Now white has to react, in other words. So what do? Best move here, according to the computer, is just take the queen. But just look at this. You take the king. This is clearly winning for black. Black has a lot of material. This is under attack. There's all these threats. There's too much material for black. Okay, let's go back. So you don't want to give up control of b4. That means the only knight you have here on d7 is the way to go. Knight from d7 to e5 check. Can you find the mate in this position? We're already getting closer to the end here. Can you find it? Where can the king go? Only 1 square. b3. King, not there. b3. Okay, this is another test for you. Can you find it? Well, you want to continue the checks. You can check with this. You can check here, you can check there. What check is the winning one? Well, again, it's all about examining checks, calculating deeply, seeing what you can visualize. Well, if I make a check like this or like this with the rook, this king's going to run away, right? Get some support from the queen, and things are going to be difficult for white. Well, the knight check prevents this escape square from being utilized, and also it forms a little bit of a wall here. And of course, with the rook, like this. So really, it only gives them one square. That's the way to go, right? Look at the moves that are limiting your opponent as much as possible and calculate those moves first. It's easier to do the calculation. Knight d4 check, one move. Can you find the checkmate in 3 in this position? So just take a look at what's happening. Your rook is hanging right now, so be very careful. Don't move one of these knights. So you first get your rook to safety. I'm just going to share the answer. You get your rook to safety with rook b5 check, supported by this knight. There's a little bit of a wall here, so they have to go to a4. Now from this position, can you find the checkmate in 2? There's only one checkmate in 2. You might be tempted to try to bring this knight in and make a quiet move, something like that. Not needed. All checks. b3 check. The king is forced to a3, and you, I am sure, can find the final move of this puzzle. Knight to c4 mate. Bang. Look at the aesthetics of this. I love it. This is such a cool puzzle. So it's a mate in 9 from this original position. Let me know. Did you get the mate in 9 in the original position? Did you get mate in 5, mate in 2? Hopefully mate in 1. So from the very top, let's just quickly run through it again. You take first, and then you just walk the king all the way out. They're all forced checks. Isn't this an amazing puzzle? I love it, and I really appreciate the suggestion. But that's pretty much it for the video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like and subscribe. That stuff helps me out so much. But that is it for now. Thank you so much. Bye.